So, liberties, dream it, believe it, become it. Come on down. I am so animated to be joined by my guy, the former WBO World Cruiserweight Champion and Britain's second longest ever reigning world champion in Mr. Johnny Nelson. Johnny, how you doing, bro?
Bless God, Rastafari. Bless God.
You know what, Johnny? This one has come as a little bit of a shock. And the reason why it's come as a little bit of a shock because, like, I don't really think many of us thought that this fight was going to happen like now, especially like with the time schedule and everything else, the going back and forth, the arguments over, contracts and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Are you surprised that Dillian Whyte, Anthony Joshua, Dillian Whyte is happening again after 8 years?
Yes. If I'm honest with you, and I think I've said it, it's been down on record, I said it would not surprise me if Anthony Joshua didn't box until it came to the big fight in Saudi. And so this has happened now. And I believe Anthony Joshua is the one that's put his foot down and said, no, you know what? I'm doing this fight. Because everybody always thinks when these fighters don't fight each other, they think he's scared of him. No fight is scared of any man. Nobody's scared of anyone. It's the businessmen behind them, the promoters, and the TV companies that are trying to keep their golden goose safe, make as little risk as possible. So, but believe me, I'm quite sure Anthony Joshua would have never said no to this fight. Clearly, Dillian Whyte never said no to this fight. But I reckon now it's got to the stage where man's put the foot down, put pressure on the people involved and say, make this fight happen. Make it happen. Because sometimes it's show business and at least now the show's taking place. It's happening with their mind there, so that's a good thing.
You know what? It's like we spoke to Dillian Whyte on Sunday.
Yeah.
Dylan jumped on the show. He said, Spence, not going to jump on the show because I don't think we don't know what's happening. And Dillian Whyte's own words were he believes that Joshua is going to opt for the big money fight with him versus Deontay Wilder. It's like they're talking some mad money, like 50.
That's what I thought. I agree with him. That's what I thought. And you know what? And I know I might be a bit of a pessimist. I think that's the right word. But it wouldn't surprise me if the fight fell through. And that's a bit bad of me to say that. But still,
no, that's more than bad mind, Johnny. Come on, man.
No, it's not bad. It's not. But listen to me. And so you're missing what I said in the first place. In the first place, I said Anthony Joshua. He's not a man that's saying I don't want to fight Dillian Whyte, or vice versa. It's the people behind.
Craig, 1 second, yeah. One second, Johnny. Yo, Don Charles. Don, I'm honored. I got Johnny Nelson. We're actually doing a show live, but congratulations! Now the fight is official. That your fighter, who you're working with now, Daniel Dubois, has got his world title shot against Alexander Usyk on the 24th of August.
24th, 29th. 24th or 29th.
No, yeah, that's right. So I ain't gonna keep you, Don. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give you a call later on, and we'll discuss that. But what's your thoughts on Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua getting it back on?
That's a very good fight. The heavyweight division badly needs such fights to happen with what's been going on lately with no fights materializing. So you've got our fight, Dubois and Usyk.
Yeah.
That's a great fight that's happening. And then the Joshua Whyte is another great heavyweight fight. So the boxing fans have been, crying out for heavyweight fights, and they've been denied that in the past few months. So at last, you have got two very interesting fights in the horizon.
Yeah. Well, Don, thanks for your time. I'm going to give you a call later, and just that I'm quickly doing a show, but I couldn't not ignore you because you're my guy. All right, thank you very much, Don Charles.
All right, brother. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, it's all happening. It's all happening. You know, my phone's always busy. Yeah, so like you were saying, I could understand what you'd be thinking, like, oh well, he could actually swerve this fight because, and that's no
No, no,
disrespect.
no, no, no. Again, and people get gassed by saying Nelson says AJ swerving. It's not the fighters. It's the people behind the fighters because they want to keep their golden goose safe because they're the afraid
Mhm,
ones, not the fighters. Any
mhm,
fighting man will get in with any fighting man. But when you've got your managers and your promoters saying, "Well, you know what, I'm going to make a little business move here," they are the
mhm,
ones. This is
mhm.
why the heavyweight scene is in such array. It's them people that's up. It's not the fighters because you know you're an ex-fighter. No matter what, even if you think you'll get your ass pushed, you say, "Yeah, I'll fight. I'm doing that." It's the people behind it. So I'm not saying AJ's gonna swerve my man or my man's gonna swerve AJ. What I'm saying is, I would not be surprised if for some reason some contractual blah 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 something like that. It would not surprise me.
Yeah, you know what? I can't see that happening. I see the fight happening, and I'm going to tell you why I
I
see the
hope
fight.
it does. I hope it does. I hope it's done.
I'll tell you why I see the fight happening. I'll tell you why I see the fight happening. Big up Sugar Ray 29. Thank you so much for the £10. Put that one up, please, Manny. What's Manny doing, bro? Well, he says Whyte seems to be turning into a paycheck journeyman, and his fight and his
That's not
fight,
fair, man.
a lucky punch can still win it. Since the American appearance and the loss to Ruiz, Joshua seems to be a rabbit caught in headlights. Well, yeah, well, thank you for the £10 anyway, my bro. Thank you for the £10. No, you know what? I don't think that Joshua's caught in headlights. I think sometimes the Joshua's mindset could be a little bit all over the place because it's a lot of pressure for a young man. I mean, I can't say young man now because he's a big man now. He's like in his 30s. But I still think it's a lot of pressure for a young man. And certain times he has to go through that. And I don't think he's had the older heads around him or the people in that could give him that kind of tough love. I think I think now him working with Derrick James, I think he's going to have that in the camp. Plus, he's around killers in that camp. He's around Charlo. He's around Errol Spence. All of these men are in big, massive fights right now. So, you know what I mean? I think those things will help the growth of Andy Joshua. But what I also got to realize, I got to be realistic. Dylan White and Andy Joshua are both at the tail end of their careers. They can't think unless I'm young, sprightly prospects now because they're not. Here's one man that's been a unified world heavyweight champion, and the next man who's challenged for the world title. But we have seen in heavyweight history where you get two men, one being a former world champion and one being a former world title challenger, that they do put on great fights. Famously, we have to go back to George Foreman versus Ron Lau, one of the most exciting heavyweight non-title fights ever. And maybe we could get something like this for when these two men face each other next month. Um, Maybe we could get something like that.
10, is it over 10 rounds or 12?
It's going to be a 12-round fight.
What's
Yeah, it's going to be.
anything on the line?
No, it doesn't need to have anything on the line. I tell you why this fight needs to happen for DAZN. DAZN has famously just lost Canelo, right? They've just lost Canelo. They need to put on a big fight with Anthony Joshua. They need to put on some kind of fight, right? So the fight that needs to be put on right now, I would say, would have to be that fight. It's an easy fight to make. Both men have got certain form of contractual agreements with Matchroom, and Eddie Hearn's now thinking like, right, I've got to do something, right? So I think it's an easy fight to make. It's not difficult. I agree with Dylan White where Dylan White was saying, well, he thought that fight, if that fight was to go ahead, that it would be a stadium fight because he reckons that it could fill a stadium. But in to be realistic, they haven't got no long time to promote this fight or to build this fight into something. They can say, right, here it is now, here and now. And it's one of those ones, like the famous Ernie Fossey, one of the greatest matchmakers of all time, used to say, if you can't beat him, you should retire. Eddie Hearn can say that to both of them. Well, Dylan, if you can't beat him, you might as well retire. And he'd be saying the same thing to Andy Joshua. If you can't beat him, you might as well retire. So it's going to be one of those kind of things.
I hear that. And that's why both of them are a serious crossroads in their career. And that's why this fight is so intriguing, because both fighters, a loss will basically stamp their fate. A win will move on. So say, for instance, Dylan Whyte wins. Would he be part of the tournament in Saudi Arabia? Would he still? Where would that leave him? Would he take Anthony Joshua's position if he won?
I think that would be the case. But then also, Daniel Dubois is looking to spoil the apple cart as well against Alexander Usyk, which crazier things that happen in boxing. So as much as we're looking like Usyk is a genius, but I've seen the guys who give Usyk trouble, like Michael Hunter, like Darius Chisora. Those guys.
But Daniel Dubois is not like Hunter or Chisora.
Well, the thing about
Daniel has the power.
Yeah, but it's somewhere in between, though, Johnny. I would say somewhere in between, because I think he's technically sound and he does have power. That's one thing.
All right, let me ask you instinctively as a fighter, and this is a harsh thing to say, and I like Daniel Dubois, but you know me, I'll say how it is, and it might get shut down for saying it. When you see quitting a fighter, you know it's there. Now we'll see it, but we might not say it because it's like you're throwing a man on the bus. Are you telling me you've not seen quitting Daniel Dubois? Be honest.
I did see quit.
Okay. So if you're a fighter and you're getting a ring to that, and there's quit there, it's in your DNA. It's always in your DNA. At this level, it's always in your DNA. So you have a lose it in amateurs, or it's always in your DNA. And if he's putting that amount of pressure, getting a lick, the quit is going to appear and mash him up.
Yeah, all right. I hear that one. And to Daniel Dubois' defense, because I was very, very vocal on when Daniel lost against Joe Joyce. But the reason I was very vocal, because I didn't like the comment what Daniel Dubois made about Joe Joyce's mom. Like, oh, I'm glad that it's a good thing that you're blind because you won't be able to see the beating that I'm going to give your son. And I get it. Joe Joyce's mother was giving it to Daniel, but that's someone's mom. I mean, I get very testy over those kind of things, and I know for a fact that Daniel Dubois didn't sit down and think that line. I believe that he was his handlers around and said, "Yeah, go and say this one, Dan," and you go say that. I mean, you got to realize that, especially when we're dealing with people.
You're not saying Frank. You're not saying Frank. I frame Weezers in fifth like that. You know it's Frank, man. You know it's Frank. Daniel's not that kind of.
I don't even believe it was him. I think it was the other people that were around him, right? His managers, right? That's what I do. Right, but what's said and that's done, right? So, but what I'm saying is this: I don't believe that in that fight there. I don't think the realization of everything of how immense what you've got ahead of you now, because when he fought the other day, when he fought Leary, he could have quit in that fight. Yeah, I mean, he got dropped. He twists up his ankle and everything, and he showed me something that he actually has got balls, because he could have quit in that fight. He was hurt. He was dropped. He twisted his ankle. He got up. He was fighting on one foot and knocked out the brother, right, in the defense of his WBA regular title. So because of that, now I've got to say, you know what? I've got to salute you to that. I've got to say well done to you for that. Now, whether or not, when we're saying he's got quitting him, does Usyk hit that kind of... Usyk don't hit like Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is a persistent, hurtful puncher. He erodes you with his punching. Usyk ain't like that. Usyk is very, very skilled, and Usyk
will beat the fight out of you.
Yeah, and he psychologically breaks you as well, right? But do I believe that Daniel Dubois could be there, especially because he's around Don Charles? I think that he could throw a caution to the wind and say, "Listen, I'm sticking it on you." Right?
You know, I rate Don Charles as a trainer. The problem for Don Charles is he's not had the right apparatus that will show how good a trainer he is. So he's had fighters that he's worked with in the past, such as Derek and other fighters that have been there, and because they've not listened, because they've not executed what should have been executed, it then reflects on Don. But Don's actually a good trainer. Don's actually a very clever, astute trainer. But unfortunately, he's not had the correct apparatus for people to say, "Oh, right, that's you." I'm telling you, when Don Charles gets a fighter that he's produced and his little soldier, his little robot from Dave Dot, you think, Don, he's on it. He's on it. But I don't think Don has got the credit he deserves yet because he's not had the right fighters. He's not had the fighters that actually can execute what he's worked on, mentally as well as physically, as well as technically.
Yeah, and I agree, But what I am saying is this: when you're, I think Don Charles has got that chance now. I think Don Charles has got that chance because he's got a young man now that is totally listening to him, right? And I mean totally listening to him, and he's being totally dependent on him. And I think that's what Don Charles needed. Don Charles needed that kind of apparatus, and I believe that he's got that now with Daniel Dubois. I do. And we'll see. It's whether Daniel Dubois can administer the instructions given to him. And if he can, then you know what? We're in for a great fight.
Just a quick one before we carry on. Is that Tony Simpson against Mark Kaler behind you, over your right in the shoulder?
It certainly is. It was an incredible fight. I mean, an incredible fight for British. Yeah, it was for the British, Commonwealth, and European title. Quinn 40 says, respect to the knowledge of Mr. Nelson, long time viewer here. If AJ doesn't KO Whyte, is there a chance Wilder might be in jeopardy?
Without a doubt. If AOJ loses, that fight done.
No, he's saying like if he doesn't KO Dylan Whyte, he doesn't say if he loses, if he doesn't knock him out. If he doesn't go out there and knock him out, do you think that could like turn people off so they could lose interest in that?
No, not at all. No, not at all. I believe the interest and the appetite will be still there. As long as he's not injured, hurt his hands or whatever, it's not a tough, hard, grueling fight. August, September, October, when they're talking November. They're talking. November. Yeah. So as long as it's not a hard, tough, grueling fight on him, yeah, he can do. There's always the intrigue will always be there for the one of the biggest punchers, modern day punchers out there now in Deontay Wilder, and our homegrown hero in Anthony Joshua. You know, it's a case of how will that turn out. We've seen how Tyson Fury did with Wilder. Now we want to see how Anthony Joshua does, and it's intriguing. You can see how Wilder would win. You could see how Joshua would win. So that's an intriguing fight. But I don't believe Anthony Joshua will make an easier job of Dylan Whyte as Tyson Fury did. There's just. Tyson Fury, remember he'd been out all that time, and look how he buoyed him up. He buoyed up Dylan Whyte. Dylan, you know, I saw in the build to the fight, he got sucked in. He got sucked into the old pals that dancing up there on stage like, man, you're cool and everything, like we're friends. I thought, nah, you don't need to cut that. You need to make this man respect you and fear you. But Tyson became familiar with him, which grew his confidence, and Dylan learned a harsh lesson. I thought, Tyson, I don't think this fight will be as easy for Anthony Joshua. And if it is, then Anthony Joshua has found his mojo. This fight is easy.
What do you think the two guys have got left? What do you think Dylan Whyte's got left? And what do you think Anthony Joshua's got left?
Listen, these guys might raise their game because it's each other. Because of they might box better than their next fight, be it against Wilder, be it against whoever. This might be that fight where it's like Kell Brook and Amir Khan. You know what I mean? They could raise their game for that fight, but they couldn't do it for anybody else because they know each other, they're familiar with each other, they've got that piece of history there. So I don't mark this fight by any other fight that will come after that, because these guys will. There's too much pride at stake. There's too much at stake. And I mean real pride, not showbiz pride. I mean real pride, where you think, nah, I really can't make this man beat me. You know that beef's there. You know it's for real. You know it's not show. It's not bullshit. It's not TV. I think these two will box. It'll be there. They might be able to turn back time. You know, they might be able to erase the last fights that they had where people it didn't work out their way or it didn't box the best of their ability, and then box outstandingly. But the next fight, I think this is their fight. I think this is their fight. And I know you spoke about AJ and pressure. AJ knows what pressure is. AJ walked into Wembley with Klitschko. You know, when you're there and you see that, you think, why? AJ's gone there and boxed for world title. AJ, he's done pressure. He's used to the pressure now. You know, that it's not about pressure. It's about what's in there and how he deals with things that happen now. And I said after he lost to Usyk the second time, the problem isn't tonight. The problem is coming. But he's gonna now get in his head, why am I fighting? What's my motivation? Because his motivation before was I'm the best in the world. And the arrogance of a world champion, I know this. And even if you don't believe it, you think you are the best fighting man at your weight in the world. And on the outside looking, you think, how arrogant is that? You think you can fight, you're the best fighter at your weight amongst 7.888 billion people on this earth. But as a fighter, you've got to think like that. But when you know you're not that fighter, your motivation changes. So some people can prostitute themselves and get in there for the dough. AJ's not that man. He ain't that man. So now he's got to somehow get in his head and think, right, you know what? I can do this. I can get back to where I need to be. But he always knows Usyk's there to beat him. And they look at Wilder, they look at Tyson Fury and think, all right, then, you know, he doesn't know if Tyson Fury can beat him. It doesn't matter what we say. He doesn't know if Wilder can beat him. He knows Usyk can beat him. And this is where it'll affect his mentality, his hunger, his drive, his motivation as a fighter. And he might bullshit and say, I'm going for the money. That is not Anthony Joshua. I don't believe it. He's not a prize fighter. His pride hurts too much. He's fighting on ego. That's what he's fighting on. And hopefully they will marry up. He will all of a sudden start to believe himself, think like the old school heads and think, you know what, I can come back from this. You know, but he's not a prize fighter. He's a fighter that fights to be champion. He's not a fighter that fights to make up the numbers.
So what Johnny Nelson's trying to say is that Anthony Joshua is not a prize fighter. He's actually a pride fighter. There is a big difference. Josh Guy, thank you so much for the $9.99. Yes, brothers, it all depends on why. Yes, punch resistance after Povetkin KO was with Chisora, Fury KO, and if AJ has the hunger stroke desire, and he wills at some point in that for sure, right? You know what I mean? This guy, Manny, our guy, Manny's winding him up, you know, because all of these questions may be putting these up on the screen. And like, because someone just paid their money for that. I appreciate your $9.99, Josh. I'm very, very grateful for that. You know what? He's going to have to put in a performance in that fight, right? And so is Dylan Whyte. Dylan Whyte's going to have to put in a performance in the fight because Dylan Whyte was the one sitting down saying like, ooh, I'm not too sure about how this fight's going to go, right? That's what he was on. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if the fight's going to happen. Well, the fight's happening, right? And I think it's a good move on both guys because for you to go move on, this is a big fight, but for you to go and move on to say like, because everyone doing this fight here is like, I want to be on the Saudi team in December, right? Dylan Whyte has long chased for a Wilder fight for ages. He's chased for that fight, and it always eluded him. And this is when Wilder was the WBC champion, and Dylan Whyte was contender for something like nearly 1,000 days. This fight is needed to happen, man, and I'm glad that it is happening. I'm glad it's happening, and I'm glad that these men will they're going to earn decent money from it. But I'm glad because I know that it's going to be a fight. Because you go to anyone and say, well, Dylan and Joshua is happening. And they know this fight is a roadman fight. We know what this is going to represent. We know what this is going to be. We know that this isn't what we saw when respectively both guys fought Jamel Franklin. This is not going to be that. They're going to be throwing hands. Both of them are going to be throwing hands. I think Johnny just frozen there.
No, I'm there, man. I get that. I just think, and that's why I say to you, I think these guys. I think this will be that fight where these guys, their performances might be. This might be the last best performance of their careers. The last best performance of their careers, because these guys can conjure up that emotional vendetta, that physical, that pride, that ego. This fight has got so much more to it, and this is one of those fights where the crowd will be split, the fans will be split. They'll be split. I like both guys, and I won't even try and call this fight. I like both fights.
Why would you try and call this
No,
fight?
because I can see why how both guys can win and how both guys can lose. That's it. No one's going to put me under that kind of pressure.
Okay. But if you had your house money to go bet on it, who would you bet on?
I ain't doing it.
You ain't betting?
No. I ain't bet on certainties like my name.
Okay.
I'm not even sure of that.
I see it as a very intriguing fight,
Who would you put your house on? Who would you put your money on?
You know what? At this present moment, I don't trust none of them. I'm gonna be real with you.
Let me ask you this one. So we talk about quit. Again, a bit controversial. Spence and Crawford.
Yeah.
So which fighter has given you an indication that they might have a bit of quit or lack of concentration mid-fighting?
No, lack of concentration. They both show me that they got lack of concentration.
All right.
Well, I would say it was about 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Terence Crawford, when he fought Kavaleskis, he got floored by Kavaleskis. They didn't call it a knockdown, but it was a knockdown, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
But then if you watch Errol Spence against Ugas, in the Ugas fight, there was lack of concentration by Errol Spence, and he got hurt. He got hurt by Ugas.
Was that the fight where Spence was looking at the ring like...
Yeah, in that fight there. Right? So he showed me that lack of concentration. Andrew Cohen has just said the same thing. So once he showed me that lack of concentration, But why?
You think that was lack of concentration? Because the Crawford one, he got hit. Right? We all get hit, and he switched off, didn't see the shot coming. When a man's in a fight and he switches off, and he's like, as if saying, everybody's like, yo, what, you're in the middle of a fight. You're not knocked out. Now that's quit. That's a quit trait.
That's a bit deep there. That's a very, very deep. Do I think that Errol Spence has got quit in him? No, I don't. Not at all. And I don't think Terence Crawford's got quit in him either. I would say who's more faceted? And the person who's more faceted, who I believe can do a little bit more than his opponent, I would say is Terence Crawford. And Terence Crawford's a tough man as well. But and they both got that devil in them. They both got, they're very spiteful. But I'm just looking at the size of Errol Spence. It was like last week, myself and Tundi. And my reason why Tundi's not here right now is because Joe Cordova, Tundi's fighter, is fighting next week. So Tundi's in camp, right? And we had Ray Mancini on the show, the former WBA lightweight champion. And Ray Mancini was saying like he's pitting for Crawford because of Crawford's size, because he believes how Crawford can rough it up, and he's shown in the past that he can grit it and bite down on his gum shield. So he's going for Crawford. It's a in the beginning when this fight was first spoken about 4 years ago, I was heavily Terence Crawford. Heavily Terence Crawford. Right? As the years have gone on, I still favor Crawford to come out, but I don't know because of the size of Errol Spence and his persistency. And he's got that dog in him. They both got dog in him, but he's got that dog in him. So it's gonna be a very intriguing fight. Very, very intriguing fight.
I hear that. But yeah, so that was that one. And the other thing is, I think now I'm glad with this heavyweight situation. The heavyweights are now representing themselves because I think fights pulling out, fights happening, not happening, game changer fights that are supposed to shock the world. The heavyweights have
That's foolishness. Whatever game changer that was, that's foolishness. Ain't no game
That's
changer.
right. That's right.
You know what
Exactly. So you can fool the masses that don't know boxing, but you can't fool people that know boxing about no game changer foolishness. But I think the fact that Spence and Crawford is happening, a good thing. Yeah, the fact that fights are now happening, even the women's fights are happening, that's a good thing. And at last, with AJ and Whyte, I'm glad it's happened. I'm glad these guys are stepping up. And listen, and Usyk and Dubois. Usyk was the first man to say, yes, I'll have another fight in between now and Saudi because I believe I'm the best. Everybody else is hit. Will I want? I might box X, Y, Z. He's signed, sealed, and ready to deliver. Usyk is the most confident out of all that is it a quadruple or whatever quarter fighters that's in the tournament because he's willing to go in there and take his mandatory defense against Daniel Dubois. I think Daniel Dubois has the punch power. He has the ability, but I think Alexander Usyk has his number.
You know what? Usyk, we gotta call it as it is. He's the real deal, man. He's the real deal. Former cruiserweight champion, now unified heavyweight champion, and a man that surely, if Tyson Fury wanted that fight would happen.
Of course.
Right. That's what I've got to say on that. And that's not me taking off slant at Tyson Fury because I still think Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the world. But I'm saying, like, surely.
Spencer, we all say that. I'm like you. I think Tyson beats them all. But the foolishness that's going on, you just think, come on, man.
Yeah.
So Tyson can take offense. He can take offense at what's being said, but they're not actually dissing him because he's acting like a man that don't believe he can win. Whereas everybody else thinks, well, we think you can win. So we're not saying you ain't the better fighter. We're saying the decisions that are being made don't make sense at all. You know, this man's making decisions like he invented the wheel. You know, as though boxing's going to done without him. No, that's not the case.
Well, you know what? The game will continue. Right, Johnny just cut off there. I'm saying the game will continue. Yeah, it's cool. Now the game will continue. I'm very grateful that you've taken your time out because I know you're a busy man. Yeah, I mean, how many dogs have you got, Johnny? I know you got some. Right, Dotty Gal, thank you very much for the £5.
Dotty Gal. Somebody called Dotty Gal.
Yeah, someone there called that again. They're proper regular on the show. They're always throwing money, so thank you for the £5. Thank you for the £5.
Dotty Gal, give me a follow, man. Let me follow you back on Instagram, Dotty Gal.
Right. And off of that, like I said, I'm grateful that I've got the great, and it is the great Johnny Nelson. And sorry, when do you get your MBE? Ain't you got it yet?
Supposed to be this year sometime. When I do it, I'm going to do a party. I'm going to introduce the Johnny Nelson Foundation, and our charity is to work with kids that don't to school kids at home, to school kids in community centres, to school kids that just can't be schooled inside your conventional school. This will be a scheme up and down the country. Of course, we'll start in Sheffield. We'll see how it grows. We'll see what funding we can get. And then we will spread it around. There's places in London, obviously, Birmingham, Manchester. There are many places like that. And I was a kid at school that I wasn't very good at school. I was mischievous. I was disruptive. I was as a handful, but I was a lovable rogue. But my education started when I finished school. And a lot of kids, they need alternative teaching. So this is what the foundation will be working towards.
Johnny Nelson, like, you keep on doing your business. I can't. Thank you very much. Josh Guy just sent the question in. Who is Dave Allen lined up to fight? And he's Johnny Fisher. That's the talk. I don't know. Maybe Johnny Nelson will know something because I know Johnny Nelson.
I've heard the same. I think Dave Allen should check in. But Dave Allen's had enough time off to come back and do this. But let me just tell you something. And this again might set the cat amongst the pigeons. I was with Brendan when we saw Michael Watson sparring for his fight against Mike McCallum. We saw him, I think it was in the Lonsdale gym in London. And I think he was sparring with Howard Eastman. They were knocking lumps off each other. And Brendan said, that's where the damage is done. He got him to fight Mike McCallan, and Mike McCallan gave him a beating. And unfortunately, the rest is history. We saw what happened with Michael.
April 1990.
Yeah, we saw what happened with Michael and Chris, which is very sad and horrible to see in our game. Brendan said the damage had already been done in the sparring before, in the fight before against Mike McCallan. Now, I've seen this again in a fighter that's just won a world title. And this guy's just won a world title, but I'm telling you now, that fight has damaged him, and you will not see the consequences of that fight for maybe 3 or 4 fights down the line. But mark my words, I ain't naming names. I'm just saying to you, I've seen that, and when I saw it, I thought, right, it was the same thing all over again. And that's why they need to be careful and watch certain fights, and watch how they're getting hit in the head, hitting hard in the head. But I love our game. I love our sport, but I don't like the reason why I got onto it when I'm talking about Dave Allen. Dave Allen's a tough guy. He's a nice guy, very popular, but he's getting too many licks in the head, and we won't see the consequence of that until 5-10 years down the line.
I hear that. Quinn 40, thank you for your £10. Last question: has either of you watched AJ's new video on YouTube? He seems like he's in a new place in life and happy. 0% distractions. Is he there for the rest of his career?
Inshallah, I hope so. Inshallah, I hope so. I hope he's in a good place. I hope he's in a good place mentally, physically, emotionally. Inshallah.
Yeah. You know what? Bottom line is this. I'm actually looking forward to this fight with him and Dylan Whyte. I am looking forward to it simply because I know they don't like each other, and I know they're gonna have a scrap, because neither one of them can afford to say they're gonna try and box and get out of it. Reason why is because they're not looking to beat anybody on points. Neither of them are looking to beat anyone on points. I want you to realize that they're looking to knock out someone, right? That's so I'm looking forward to this. I'm really, really looking forward to that fight. And like I said, there's only fight to happen as well.
Good fight.
And on that note, Johnny Nelson, I will not hold you longer. Johnny Nelson, thank you so much.
Blessed.
Come on up. Thank you so much, Johnny Nelson. Keep on doing what you're doing. I'm still waiting for my invitation to go to Buckingham Palace where you receive your MBE from the King.
We'll make noise, Jed. All right, then. Peace. Take care, Spencer. Take care, man.
Love, buddy. Take care, man. Thank you.